Hi there, this is Jen, and thanks for joining me on this wonderful Friday afternoon. Today I am making 10 cards using the Pinkfresh Studios Simple and Sweet collection. It's a really beautiful collection of different papers, stickers, chipboard stickers, puffy stickers, ephemera. There's some paper frames, just lots of different beautiful items. I purchased the items that I have from scrapbook.com a few weeks ago, and I was looking yesterday and they are out of stock of quite a few items. I believe they still had the 12 by 12 paper pad left. I purchased the 6 by 6 paper pad. There are 32 papers, one of each design. And then I also purchased the gold puffy stickers, and I purchased the Ephemera Pack. So this is the second collection that I purchased from Pinkfresh Studios, and they just have a lot of really gorgeous papers and coordinating items. So I encourage you to check them out if you're not familiar with them or haven't used them before. Sometimes they have coordinating stamp sets. I believe the last collection I purchased was the Valentine's collection. I don't remember the name of it, but I did make a video, and I'll link that below if you're interested. But it did have a coordinating stamp set. This one doesn't have a coordinating stamp set, but there are plenty of other items that can be used if you're making cards or scrapbook layouts or what have you, whatever projects you're doing. There's a ton of different elements that you can purchase, which is a great thing about buying a collection. You can buy all of from one collection, or you can just buy pieces and buy mix and match collections. But it's really nice to have it all coordinated, so you don't really have to do a lot of thinking about it. So for this first card, I am using 2 dies from my stash, and I've just made a frame out of the floral paper. And then the other, I've cut a piece of, for my center, I've cut a piece of another piece of kind of, it's got some florals and some hearts on it. And for the frame, I'm going to go ahead and take some double-sided foam and pop that up and adhere that to my card base. And then I'm actually also using this sentiment that says taking my sweet time, and then this cute little bicycle. And so I've adhered the bicycle to the card, and I am just placing some enamel dots to the center of the bike wheels. And these are DIY enamel dots just made from perler beads that have been melted. And then I'll go ahead and take that sentiment and pop part of it up with some foam tape, and the other part I will use my liquid glue. And I used a little bit of Wink of Stella, and that completes this first card. So a really quick and easy card. Like I said, really pretty papers. This is one of my favorite papers because you can do so much for it. Actually, I got this idea from Pinterest. And so basically I am just taking a circle die and trying to figure out what area I am going to color. And so I will go ahead and run that through my die cut machine and take that circle piece, and I am using my Spectrum Noir markers to color this in. And I will have the colors linked below. I am not putting a huge portion of the coloring in, and I've sped it up quite a bit. Only because if you've watched any of my videos, you know that I do not do a lot of coloring. I'm not really exactly sure how to do it. I've watched a few kind of tutorials on how to do it, but I am not super comfortable with it, which is why I don't do it a lot. But it's something I definitely would love to learn, and I just need to take the time to do that. So basically I took the panel and just used some double-sided tape and adhere that to my card base. And then I took some foam tape or foam squares and popped up the colored circle piece and put a sentiment from a stamp in my stash and used some, what did I use? Nouveau Crystal Glaze over the lemons to give it a little bit of shine. So that completes that card. On to the next card. I went ahead and used the lemon paper And I took one piece and put that on my card base, and then I cut some of the lemons out of another piece of the lemon paper. I made a banner using a die in my stash, a banner die in my stash, using the pretty pink paper. And I went ahead and put some double-sided foam on the back of that, and I'm adhering that to my card base. And then I'll go ahead and pop up some of these lemons onto the card. And so 3 of these are cut out from the pattern paper, and then that small little lemon piece is one of the pieces of ephemera that came in the Ephemera Pack. For the sentiment for this card, I used a hello stamp, and I believe this is Stampendous, but I'll go ahead and link that below, and as well as all the products that I use. So I go ahead, and I had an idea for this. It did not turn out well, so 3rd time's a charm on the sentiment. I actually did do it 3 times. So I started out, I kind of wanted a pink, I wanted both the colors pink and yellow on the sentiment, kind of like an ombre look. I messed it up because I put the pink down and then I put the yellow over, which of course turned that into a kind of an orange color. And so my second attempt, I put the pink on the top, and then I took the yellow and put that on the bottom. And I went ahead and I fussy cut it out and I placed it on the card, and the more I looked at it, the more I didn't like it. So off camera, I went ahead and stamped it one more time just using the yellow, and I fussy cut it out. So here you can see how it was originally. In the still shots, it shows how I changed it so that it's all yellow, and I actually stamped it onto a piece of the pattern paper, the grid pattern paper, which I really like how that turned out. So I'm happy that I changed it, because I did not like the way that it looked with the pink. I think the pink was just a little bit too dark for what I was wanting. And so here it is with the yellow, and I like that much better. So I really actually like how that card turned out. So for the next card, I'm taking this piece of kind of striped paper, and I am using my tonic guillotine trimmer to cut straight lines. And so I'm just going to take this small piece of paper and attach it to my card panel using double-sided tape. And the elements that I'm using for this are, there is like a little frame, I guess you could say, piece of ephemera, and then also there are several little like drink cups, one with ice, one with lemons, and the other one it looks like with like pink lemonade or something like that. And so those are the elements that I'm going to be using on this card. And then I took a piece of pink paper and used a scalloped die frame from my stash, and I went ahead and used my liquid adhesive and placed that on the card. The So Sweet sentiment is from a Momenta stamp set, and I just did that in a Close to My Heart, or actually I did that in an archival ink color. And then I'm going to place the panel on my card base. And then I end up using some crystal glaze on the ice cubes in the cup, and I also use my Liquid Pearls lemon chiffon color to make those little lines outside, or some little dots outside of the sentiment. And that will complete this card. So for the next card, I am using a blue card base along with this blue grid paper, and I am using the inside of the banner die that I used on one of the previous cards, and I'm just going to adhere the pattern paper to the card base. And usually I don't use a lot of colored card bases, or I don't mat a lot of cards, but I really had fun coordinating the colors with the pattern paper, and so I'm going to try and do a little more of that, more than just using the white. And in the Ephemera Pack there are a bunch of different flowers and floral pieces, And so I'm going to go ahead and pop some of those up onto the card. And a lot of times, just for time's sake, especially with the, longer videos, I try and not leave like all this configuring that I'm doing on the card. And what I mean by that is just the placement of the items and kind of moving stuff around. But I just wanted to leave it in this time just so you can kind of see my process is and kind of see what I'm thinking about when I am creating a card. Usually I have a sketch in mind and I try and follow that sketch. It kind of veers off a lot of the times, just depending on, you just think of different things as you're putting together a card. But I just kind of wanted to show just me taking different elements and seeing if they look good, and if I don't think they look good, then I'll take them off. It's just kind of a process, and I think it's a fun process, and so I thought I would just go ahead and just leave that in there just so you could kind of see how I create cards. So the next thing I do is I'm taking some silver thread, and I went ahead and wrapped that around my fingers, and I am just going to attach that to the back of this sentiment strip that came in the Ephemera Pack. And then I put a piece of double-sided tape on the back of that, but I also did wrap a glue dot around the thread just to keep it secure. And then I'm going to go ahead and on the center of the flowers and on the center of all those little like berry flowers, I'm taking my white Nuvo drops, and that completes that card. I think this might be one of my favorites. I think it's really pretty. I like the different layers and the different kind of elements for this card. So for this next card, I am using a scallop frame die, and I'm going to go ahead and take this pattern paper and cut that out. And then I also take a piece of really pretty pink paper and I cut the frame out again. And then these colors, the yellow and the pink together, they just look so pretty to me. So the yellow is actually my card base, and I'm going to go ahead and take this pattern paper and use my liquid glue and take the outside of that where the scalloped frame cut. And then the pink piece of the scalloped frame is going to be inserted. And so I'm just running the glue along the card base. Since this die, the scallop die, is so thin, it's kind of a little bit more difficult to get especially the liquid adhesive around the sides without being too messy. And so I just put that scallop die in and then inserted the centerpiece. And then I'm taking a piece of the lemon ephemera and the sentiment that says, "If today's a good day, we'll be having ice cream," or something like that. What does it say? If today goes well, we're getting ice cream. And so I go ahead and take the little ice cream cone and attach that using some double-sided foam tape. And then I also use some of the Nuvo Crystal Glaze over the ice cream portion of that piece of ephemera. And I don't end up using that flag piece on this card, but I do take a piece of the square ephemera and cut the ends off of it and put one end on the top of the sentiment piece and the other on the bottom, just to give it, I just like those little colored circles at the bottom right there. And so I adhered that to the top and the bottom. And once again, this is where that little tool that I seem to use an awful lot, the rub-on tool, comes in super handy because it's so great for getting underneath when you have stuff popped up, to just kind of make sure that that glue is adhered. So I just kind of run that over the piece just to make sure that it is glued down well. And that will complete that card. For the next card, I am using this piece of teal paper. It kind of reminds me of like tree trunk rings a little bit. And I'm taking one of my bigger circle dies and I will run that through my Big Shot, and I am using basically the negative space portion. I'm going to go ahead and place some double-sided foam tape on that, and then I will do some coloring on the panel with some cracked pistachio distress oxide. And so I'm just taking my blending tool. I have no idea why I'm doing this the way I'm doing it, to be honest. I don't know what I was thinking at the time, why I'm using the circle. It basically looks like an eyeball, and that was not the look that I was going for. So yeah, I'm not really sure what my thinking was here, but I do end up covering it up, and I didn't want to start over or waste it, so I just figured I would leave it. It gives a little bit of character to it. So then I'm going to go ahead and attach my popped up piece of pattern paper, and then I'm going to use some of the puffy gold stickers. And so I end up using these two leaves that are in a circle, and then I take the word joy and place that in between those. And take a few of the puffy hearts, and that will do it for this card. I try to stick mainly with the collection pieces, other than using dies from my stash and some little items like that. I tried to stick mainly with just what the items I had purchased for this collection, and so I think I did a good job at kind of staying within that. So that will complete that card. For my next card, I am taking two of these strip dies or border dies. They're both scalloped. One is a bigger scallop with stitching, and then a smaller scallop with stitching. So this is just going to be a vertical piece on the card. So my card panel is white, and then my card base is that teal color. So I'm taking some double-sided tape and I will adhere that to my card panel. And the ephemera pieces that I'm using for this card are the lemons. The sentiment says sun-kissed, and then also a little, kind of like a little banner piece of ephemera. And I also, again, use some it's not the gold thread or the silver thread, it's another piece of silver thread from my stash. But the lemons, I go ahead and secure those with some double-sided tape, and then I pop up the piece of the kind of the frame piece of ephemera with some foam tape. And then I'll go ahead and place the lemon, and the sentiment will be secured just using a liquid adhesive. And then the ends, I do put a little bit of foam tape because they hang over the side. And then I used a piece of silver thread for my stash. And again, I don't know what I was doing. I just kind of wrapped it around in no particular design or anything, just. And then I put a really thin, this yellow piece is a really super thin piece of foam from the dollar store or something like that, and so it tends to buckle if it's not secured really tightly. So on both sides I am using this Be Creative tape. It is very strong, a double-sided tape, and so that is what I use to secure that to my card base. And I believe that completes that card. I do use some Morning Dew Nouveau drops on the lemons, and that will complete that card. So this next card, I am making a shaker. And so I just took 2 circle dies in my stash that matched closely with the circles, and I end up cutting out 3 circles. And for the window, I am just taking the piece of packaging that the gold stickers came in, and I just cut that down to size to fit over the 3 circles. And I like using double-sided tape when I'm doing shaker windows. I don't like using the liquid adhesive. I just think, I don't know. I question I'm sure it's secure. I'm more comfortable using the double-sided tape. So I just went ahead and I put double-sided tape around the circles, kind of all over the place in between the circles, just so it wasn't lifting between each. And then I placed the piece of packaging over all 3 circles to adhere that. And then for the shaker bit, I'm not on that part yet. I'm getting ahead of myself. So then I am taking some double-sided foam tape and cutting in strips to fit around the circles. And it's a lot easier to work with. I mean, even though it's really sticky, it's a lot easier to work with the foam tape if you take off the backing, which then of course leaves the sticky side up, which sometimes the shaker pieces do get stuck on them. But I'm using my Nouveau spoon to go ahead and take some shaker pieces. So the sequin mix is neat and tangled, and then there are some yellow stars also, which are just, I think they came in a glitter pack. Either Martha Stewart or Recollections, just those little, you know, they have hearts and stars and different shapes and different colors. So I put those 2 mixes in there. And I didn't put a ton because the shaker window is not that deep. The foam, I didn't double it up, so it's kind of thin. And then I took one of the pieces, one of the circles that I cut out, and put that behind one of the circles, and then I used the pattern paper from the collection to put behind the other 2. And then I will go ahead and place foam, double-sided foam, over the entire card. And I will put a liquid adhesive on the parts that are already popped up. So the different the 3 circles, I use liquid adhesive, so that is secured. And then I'm going to take my card panel and place that over the back of my shaker. And then I will go ahead and adhere the entire card to my card base. And there's already a lot of words on it, so I didn't want to use a sentiment so much, but I did take the piece of ephemera that's kind of like a flag or a banner strip, and then I took the other piece of ephemera, a circle sentiment, that says, "Let your heart sing," and then I took a few of the gold puffy stickers and adhered those to the card also, and that will complete this card. I believe I am on the last card. Yes. So for the last card, I am using the pattern paper that has all the sentiment. They're almost like little tickets. And so I cut every strip, and then I scored all of the strips at the line where the ticket, like there's little dots that kind of show, I don't know how to explain that. I have no idea what I'm saying. they're like tickets. So like, you know how a ticket separates, that's how these separate, so you can tell where to score them. So I just scored all the pieces, and I'm just kind of making a dimensional card. So I'm kind of folding stuff under or folding stuff over and gluing that to the card. And so every strip that I put down has an element that is popped up in some way. So this is not going to be the kind of card that you would probably send through the mail. This would be a better in-person card, because it probably would get flattened unless you sent it like pretty padded, so that doesn't happen. And even then, I think it would probably get smushed. So as you can see, that part remains popped up, and so that's how all of the strips are placed on the card. And so I go ahead and do that for the entire card, and I did end up actually using the whole piece of 6x6 paper on this one card panel. I think I was just trying to do something a little bit different. I thought I would try it, and so I did. I don't think it's horrible. It's not the worst thing I've ever done, that's for sure. And so some of the ends have, like on that first row, a little bit of space that needs to be filled, and so I just took the extra pieces and did that. And then at the end I had this one little strip left, and it actually fit perfectly across the card, and so I just popped that up with some foam tape or foam squares and placed that across the card. And then I took a few of the different ephemera elements. I took the little kind of postage with the lemon on it, and the little teacup, and the little basket of lemons, and I placed those on the card also. And I believe that is it for this card. The only thing I think I would have done differently is to maybe color the background so that the pieces that are popped up, you can't see the white underneath. So, but other than that, it was an experiment. And so that will complete that card, and that will complete the 10 cards for this collection. Thank you for spending some time with me today. If you have this collection already or are thinking about purchasing it, I hope this gives you some ideas about different things that you can do with the different elements in the collection. And I'll go ahead and leave as many links as I can below. I will try and find some other merchants that actually have this collection in stock. I will go ahead and link to the scrapbook.com items that they do have in stock already, and hopefully you will be able to find this at a reasonable price. It's a great collection of papers and different elements. And I will have some still shots of all the cards on my Facebook, on my blog, and on my Instagram account. So those links are below also if you want to check out some still shots. And again, thanks so much. If you like this video and found it informative, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. And I hope to catch you next time.